So as we all know, Intel 12th Gen just launched months ago. A lot of you guys must be scrambling out there trying to build the newest and latest gaming PC. But that is if you can get your hands on any processors or DDR5 RAM, because they are so scarce. So maybe, just maybe, we should take a closer look at 11th Gen to see if it still has anything to offer, especially in the form of pre-built PCs, since they're bound to take a price cut. Today I'll be reviewing the Predator Orion 3000 desktop powered by an 11th Gen Intel Core i7 processor to see if it's still worth it, and also I'll be checking out the Predator X34GS, a G-Sync compatible monitor. Let's get cracking. Okay. Now, brand name pre-built gaming PCs are not that new to the market, but these days brands like Predator have tried to put their own pizzazz into their offerings, giving a sleek-looking customized chassis with tons of RGB, making them especially appealing to gamers who want a more cohesive battle station. Of course, having a monitor as well as peripherals that match doesn't hurt either if you want all your RGB to sync up nicely. But what you're probably more concerned about is, how much actual value are you getting for shopping this way instead of building your own PC? Are you paying a premium for that branding, or are you getting more value for your money? Well, let's take a closer look. Firstly, let's take a look at the price, and our version of the Predator Orion 3000 desktop is priced at 6,899 ringgit. So what you get here in terms of specifications is, for the CPU, you get the Intel Core i7-11700F that has 8 cores and 16 threads and a boost clock up to 4.9 GHz. For the GPU, what we have here is an RTX 3070 with 8GB of GDDR6 VRAM, and for your RAM memory, you get one single stick of 8GB of DDR4 RAM rated at the 200 MHz that you can upgrade to 4 sticks of 16GB DIMMs for a total of 64 GHz. For storage, you get 1TB of M.2 PCIe NVMe SSD. For the power supply, what we have here is a 500W 80+ gold rated PSU. And finally, for network, you get Wi-Fi 6 as well as Bluetooth 5.0. Predator also didn't skim on the I/O ports. At the front, you have 2 audio jacks, one for your microphone and the other one for your headphones, one USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type A port, and another USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type C port. Both are pretty good to have at the front. At the back, you have, of course, the Ethernet port, 3 audio jacks, 2 USB 2.0 Type A ports, 2 USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A port, and 1 USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type C port. Of course, you also get the single HDMI 2.1 as well as 3 DisplayPort 1.4 from the graphics card. Well, of course, with this entire package, you also get the 3-year local on-site warranty, which I think might make the case for the pre-built for some of you less techy people, since it will save you the hassle of having to individually troubleshoot each and every single one of your components and send them for RMAs separately. Well, unless you build your PC with an authorized dealer that also provide free troubleshooting services as well. We did a quick test build with similar parts from Shopee and Lazada. Well, as best as we can anyways, because we kind of have to eyeball it with the motherboard, and based on the current market price, you'll still be looking at about 8,850 ringgit and upwards to 9,500 ringgit, which is 28% to 37% more expensive than the pre-built. No doubt thanks to the current shortage and the fact that the pre-built didn't stray too far from the initial MSRP at launch. However, we can't help but to wonder if there are any corners that were being cut. No doubt the case does not feel like it's of the best quality, though they did include a free tempered glass side panel, but I usually still prefer the mesh side panel for a smaller case like this for maximum airflow. What I think that we should actually focus on is the performance, as well as potentially the acoustics of the entire setup, so we'll just have to let the numbers speak for themselves. Before we move on to the benchmarks, I just wanted to do a quick test on the Orion 3000 to see how it performs in terms of thermals and acoustics. This PC comes with Predator's Frostblade cooling system that we actually put to the test. Under a full CPU and GPU stress test in AIDA64 for more than 15 minutes, we're looking at 90 degrees Celsius for the CPU and 72 degrees Celsius for the GPU at peak, as well as a 58 decibels measurement at the front of the case which honestly I think is a little noisy. I would personally swap out the fans for something quieter like Noctuas, especially in a smaller case like this if I'm going to be working on heavier workloads for longer periods of time and also having the PC next to me on the desk. For gamers, you're probably using headphones, so that's less of an issue. Moving on to the benchmarks. Well, with a 3070, of course, we're looking at 1440p gaming and maybe some 4K to see if we can actually go there with a little compromise in terms of the graphics settings. In Shadow of Tomb Raider, which is an older title by now, we are still getting more than 60 frames per second with RTX on and DLSS on quality, which I feel are the optimal settings for this rig. You can even go 4K with RTX on as long as DLSS is on performance. Moving on to the notoriously difficult game Cyberpunk 2077, I wouldn't actually recommend that you play with RTX on unless you go down to 1080p. With DLSS on performance, RTX off, you could still game in 4K, which is a plus. Metro Exodus Enhanced Edition shows us again that 1440p is completely playable at 55 frames per second with RTX and DLSS on. Flipping them off will give you a better experience in terms of FPS. So with some AAA titles, you gotta choose between image quality or frames, or a balance between the two. Of course, since this is Mobhouse and I'm a content creator, I'm gonna do some productivity benchmarks. This PC is more than capable in handling Premiere Pro and Resolve workloads for video editing as expected with an 11th gen Intel i7 processor as well as a 3070. I would actually recommend that you upgrade to 16GB of RAM at the very least if you want to have a better experience in terms of editing in 1080p, and maybe go even higher to 32GB of RAM for 4K work. 3D performance is also pretty good, though again for productivity tasks, do consider upgrading your RAM, which is very easily doable. Just pop it out and flip it in. A CPU and GPU upgrade in the future could also be possible, though you'll probably have to get a bigger PSU, maybe up to 750 watts or 850 watts. Now we tested all those games in standard 16:9 aspect ratio because no doubt most of you guys will be using monitors like that based on our survey in PC3CM. Although we did test them out separately on the Predator X34GS in its native 21:9 aspect ratio. This is an ultra-wide 34-inch IPS panel that is 3440 by 1440 pixels with a refresh rate of 180Hz overclock and an advertised response time of 0.5 millisecond grade to grade. We previously mentioned in our monitor response time video link below, it's not really a universally accepted standard for response time, so do take all this with a grain of salt. Some good features that came with this monitor that I think is good to have is definitely G-Sync compatibility and the ability to customize picture setting presets which you can switch on the fly depending on the different types of games that you are playing. It also comes with a peak brightness of 550 nits, which is an upgrade from last year's model with proper HDR400 support as well as a great color accuracy, which Acer states cover 98% of the DCI P3 color range and also Delta E less than 2. We did our test to verify and it actually came very close. This is good news for those of you who want to do color critical work like photo and video editing with this monitor outside of gaming. Overall, I find this type of monitor to be the best for AAA titles and racing games, as well as a select few FPS titles that support wider field of views. Gaming on this monitor feels very responsive and smooth, as well as immersive thanks to that 1900R curvature, which is actually quite a gentle curve. I was also quite satisfied with the HDR support for both gaming and watching videos on Netflix and also YouTube. Of course, that's always gonna be depending on the content itself, like I've mentioned many times before. Another thing that I do appreciate is that you get two HDMI 2.0 ports as well as two DisplayPort 1.4 if you decide to hook up multiple devices. You can even charge your laptop through its Type-C port with an 85-watt power delivery. That'll be great if you're somebody who just want to hook up your gaming laptop without having to deal with the power brick. A couple of downsides for me with this monitor would definitely be the speakers, which I don't think have improved much over the years. Also, because of the stand design, the monitor can't go too low, which could be an issue for you depending on your setup. Though overall, the ergonomics are still pretty good. A bonus feature here would be the Acer Vision Care to help protect your eyes over long viewing sessions, which works pretty okay for the most part. So I rather like this monitor, even at the 3,999 ringgit price point, which I think is still a little pricey. Overall, it's still a pretty awesome option for a 34-inch ultrawide curved gaming monitor if you're looking for something like that. To recap, here are the pros, mass, and cons of the Predator Orion 3000 desktop as well as the Predator X34GS monitor. I give the Predator Orion 3000 a super value for money, #cheap buy 8 out of 10, and the Predator X34GS monitor a AAA title gamerific and content creator content-curific, #cheap buy 8 out of 10 also. Wada! In a pre-built PC shell, I think that the Orion 3000 is a no-brainer if you want a PC today and don't want to pay scalper prices. Do I wish that it came with more RAM? Sure. Do I wish that it had better thermals? Yes. But at this price point, you're getting components that are not bottlenecked for the most part in terms of performance in a compact and nice-looking little package of a gaming PC like a Chili Buddy. Also, it's quite easy to upgrade and comes with an easier warranty where you won't have to troubleshoot everything part by part if you're a gamer but not a techie. You get me? As far as the X34GS monitor is concerned, I would still highly recommend it with its color accurate IPS panels, one of the best ones that we've tested so far, and great gaming performance as well as the 85-watt power delivery, which will come in handy if you want to pair it with a gaming laptop but want to keep your setup minimal. Don't have to deal with any power bricks. Though I'd still 100% recommend a soundbar or desktop speakers because the speakers on the monitor is quite bad. But hey, most built-in speakers in monitors are quite bad anyway, so yeah. And that's all, folks. If you thought this video is awesome, don't forget to like and share and leave a comment down below if you have any questions regarding any of these things that I talked about today. And also don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the notification bell, ping ping, to see more content like this, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram so that you can stalk me, not actually me but my team, because they need some stalking and some love. And I will see you in the next one.